Fiancée Saeed, I can't have an opinion about my stepdaughter because she isn't mine. AITA update 2. I told my fiancée my stepdaughter isn't mine. If you haven't watched the first part of this saga, click the link in the description now. For the second update, I'm not sure if you've all forgotten me, but I'll start. With some good news, we finally figured out how to properly toast Pop-Tarts for my son. We had about 2 weeks of cal. During that time, I spoke to my stepdaughter a few times about everything. I reassured her that no matter what happens, she'll always be my girl. She told me she hoped her mom wouldn't come back, saying her mom was controlling. Then a few days ago, my ex-fiancée walked into my house carrying 2 grocery bags, acting as if nothing had happened. She asked me what I wanted for dinner. I told the kids to go to their rooms and confronted her. I told her that we were over. She asked why, and when I didn't respond, she said couples fight as if her actions were normal. Her baby behavior wasn't settling. I told her she needed to leave or I'd call the police. She asked why I was doing this to her. I was at a loss for words, so I picked up my phone. At that point she backed down, saying, "Okay, let me get my daughter." I told her that if she wanted her daughter, she needed to call CPS and explain why she had disappeared for 2 weeks. She insisted she had only been gone for 1 night. She refused to leave without her daughter and started shouting her name. Her daughter came out of her room and reluctantly said she would go with her. I told her, "You have a place here for as long as you want." Her mother then said, "He'll kick you out just like he's kicking me out." I stood my ground, saying she could have her daughter back after speaking to CPS. When I started dialing the police, she ran out later. I talked to my stepdaughter, said she was willing to leave because she didn't want to cause trouble for me. I reminded her that she's the child. And it's my responsibility to look after her, not the other way around. I asked her where she wanted to stay for now, and she said she'd rather stay here. My ex-fiancée ended up calling CPS. They reached out to me, and there was supposed to be a meeting yesterday with her, but she didn't show up now for the comments. There is seriously something mentally wrong with her. Yep, seems to have been raised by a mom with BPD who acted just like this. You have no idea how powerful it was when you reminded her she was the child, and it was your job to look after her sincerely. No matter what, I can promise you she felt safer in that moment, and hearing you say it out loud than she likely ever has with her mother. Oh yeah, she wants her daughter so badly with her that she missed a CPS meeting. Hope your stepdaughter can stay with you. Doesn't this reflect badly on her for further dealings like deeming her an unfit parent and taking custody of her daughter? Opie is her fiancé. If custody is given, it would go to the next of kin, the stepdaughter's father, unless the father feels his daughter is much safer and happier with Opie than with him. Then Opie can fight for custody. I'm not sure about the legalities of custody matters. See a lawyer about getting custody of your stepdaughter. If you get the biological father on your side, you might have a better chance to tell your stepdaughter not to take any phone calls from her mom. She should text only and screenshot everything. The ex may end up saying something to the daughter that you can use to get custody also. So change the locks. Next story. I'm mighty an a-hole for breaking down after my girlfriend suggested an open relationship. I am 34, male. I'm 53 and have always been self-conscious about my height. I'm aware that it holds me back in the dating market. To some extent, I've worked hard my entire life to prove myself and now have a successful career making more than enough to live comfortably. I've been dating my girlfriend, 26, female, for 2 years. She's stunning, charismatic, and confident. Everything I've always wanted in a partner but never thought I'd actually. Early on, I asked her what she saw in me, and her response was vague, but sweet. Something about how I'm kind and stable. It was enough for me to believe this was real. Recently, she suggested we try an open relationship. She said she wanted to explore freedom while staying committed emotionally. It hit me like a truck. I asked if she wasn't happy with me, or if that wasn't enough. She laughed nervously and said it wasn't about me, just that she feels too young to lock herself down. I tried to hold it together, but I couldn't. I started crying, which I never do, especially in front of her. I told her that it felt like I was just a placeholder, that maybe she was using me for financial security while looking for someone better. She looked shocked and said I was overreacting and being dramatic, that it wasn't about replacing me, just adding more to our dynamic. At that point, I told her if she wanted to explore she could do it, but not while in a relationship with me. She looked stunned and started to argue, but I told her I needed space and asked her to leave. She's been texting me saying I'm being unfair and making her feel bad for being honest about her needs. So am I the only I'm considering breaking up? This hurt me so much. Genuinely. Now for the top comments before reading the mini update. Not the AOL has a suggestion of an open relationship, especially after 2 years, is completely grounds for a breakup. Either she has someone in mind already, or she's wanting to window shop for more options in the future. I'm so sorry, Obi. That would absolutely break me as well. The fact that she started to argue and victimize herself is also very telling. She's trying to make you seem like the bad guy for holding her back. If she wants an open relationship so bad out of the blue after a 2-year relationship, she can find someone who wants an open relationship. I guess you're right. There's someone else she wants to search. This open relationship can't work, especially not in Opie's favor, not AOL. She's basically asking your permission to cheat and not have to give up any perks of the relationship. Most of us would have felt exactly how you're feeling. Let her go. It's better to be single on your own than alone in a shell of a relationship. This is exactly what people are doing nowadays, using open relationships as covers for cheating. The only one to open it on their side, though, and get upset when a person who didn't want to open the relationship ends up relenting and starts dating outside the relationship, as well as the person who wanted the open relationship, didn't specify they only wanted it on their side. My ex opened a relationship without bothering to tell me, at least if you believe her. She wasn't cheating. We were just supposed to live together married while doing whatever we wanted. Otherwise, she even suggested that when she was caught to know no one. Surprise, she got super mad when I started dating around months after I kicked her out and started the divorce. She meant exactly what she's saying about an open relationship where she got to do whatever she wanted while I provided money, took care of the kids all night, cleaned house, did a laundry after work, and lived like a monk. And that's what Opie now acts as suggesting too. She doesn't want to be locked down. She wants the stability. She wants the stability he provides while looking around for someone else to latch onto for the next round update. I broke up with her over a text. She was really mad and called me, crying, but I was 100% sure, so I broke up with her regardless. Next story: a mighty a-hole for ruining Thanksgiving after my boyfriend announced my pregnancy and his mom fainted. So I, a 20-year-old female, went to my boyfriend's Jake 22 male family's Thanksgiving dinner last week. We'd been dating for a year, and this was my first time meeting the whole squad, so I was already kind of nervous before we left. Jake joked about how his family was super traditional and said I should be ready for some old-fashioned vibes. I just laughed it off. Dinner starts and everything's fine until Jake suddenly goes, "Hey everyone, we have big news." I'm sitting there like, what big news? Then he grins at me and says, "Tell them." I'm panicking, so I just sit there confused, and his mom is already emotional, asking if we're engaged or something. Then Jake drops, "She's pregnant." Y'all, I am not pregnant. I immediately start denying it. But Jake's cracking up, saying it's just a joke and telling me to play along with. His family is laughing. His mom legit faints. His dad starts yelling, and his grandma's praying under her breath. I'm mortified. I stand up and go, "Actually, the real joke is Jake thinking I'd stay with someone, wanted to pull this," and I walked out. Jake's been blowing up my phone saying I embarrassed him and ruined Thanksgiving. His family's apparently mad at me for causing drama, but like I didn't announce a fake pregnancy and traumatize his mom. A mighty a-hole for walking out and leaving him to deal with a mess. Not all your now probably ex-boyfriend thinks that putting you on a spot with no warning in front of his family is totally okay. Nope. Okay, job with that. Yeah, like he put her in an impossible position for his own amusement that expected her to clean up the mess. He's lucky she didn't go off on him, right? Then and there, Rue really thought the fake pregnancy announcement to his whole traditional family was going to be peak comedy, not dole. Let him deal with the mess he made. Finally, people who agree, anyone who isn't a complete esh, agree with you. It's insane. And one would think this is reasonable behavior from him, like maybe if they were that type of family and you both plan a joke it could land, but not including you in the joke makes you the joke. And that's really of him. Next story: am I an a-hole for breaking off my engagement with my fiancé because of his creepy comments toward my 14-year-old sister? I am 20, female, and I'm in a tough situation, and I'm not sure if I'm overreacting, so I need some outside perspectives. I've been with my fiancé, Charles, 35, male, for about 2 years, and everything seemed fine until recently. A few weeks ago, my 14-year-old sister Amy came to stay with us for a few days while our parents were out of town. During her stay, I started noticing some really settling things. At first I thought I was imagining it, but Charles started making comments that made me feel incredibly uncomfortable. He would call her so hot and say things like, "You're going to turn heads when you're older, and you've got such a body on you already." The worst part was when he said I'd be jealous if I were your boyfriend. "Every guy will be looking at you soon." Tried to ignore it at first, but it kept happening, and I began to feel sick to my stomach. Then one evening I overheard him telling a friend on the phone, "Amy's got that look now, it's like she's starting to bloom." It was honestly one of the creepiest things I've ever heard. I felt like I was losing my mind, and I just knew I couldn't stay in that relationship anymore. I confronted him about his behavior, and he immediately got defensive. He denied it and said I was being paranoid and that I should trust him. He insisted that he was just being nice and that I was overreacting. I didn't care. I packed my things, broke off the engagement, and moved back in with my parents. Now my friends and some family members are telling me I overreacted. They say I should have talked it out with him first, but I don't see how that would have changed anything. So am I alone for breaking up with my fiancé because of his creepy comments toward my little sister? Now for the top comments: drop the man and a friend defending him. F his red flag and fire behavior. He was grooming your sister. He's got a huge vibes. I would not want him around your sister, any future friends' kids, or your own. The age gap is too much. Your sister is not much younger than you are to us older people. Him being with you is just sick as picturing him with her sister. Get out. Good job. And also look him up too. See if he's on an offender list. I'd argue that with the age difference he was grooming Opie. Too freaking disgusting. Opie did the right thing, throwing away the whole relationship. Why are you surprised? When you dated him as a teenager you probably got too old for this. Creeped my parents out. Was okay because their situation was similar. Dad is in his 60s, and mom is 4. You're 15 years younger than him. He's not with you because you're mature for your age. That's the whole point. You're younger and easier to control. Once you get older, he'll leave for someone younger. That's the kind of man he is. Leave now before it's too late and before it gets a chance to hurt your sister's. Last story: am I an a-hole for cutting off my family after they didn't believe me about my cousin? I am 25 and female. Cut contact with my family when I turned 18, and I've been estranged from them ever since until recently. Growing up, I was part of what everyone else thought was a loving, close-knit family. We had regular family dinners on holidays and vacations together, but beneath that picture-perfect facade something terrible was happening. When I was 13, my older cousin, then 21, started making love, assaulting me. At first, it was subtle. He would brush against me accidentally or linger to cloth when no one was paying attention. I didn't know how to process it at a time and tried to convince myself I was imagining things, but over time his behavior escalated. He began cornering me during family gatherings, groping me and making comments about my body. The breaking point came when he trapped me in a room during a family party, put his hand under my shorts and touched me there. I froze too. Scared to scream, he leaned in and whispered, "No one's going to believe you." Before walking out like nothing had happened. For years I carried a weight of that moment alone. I avoided him as much as I could, but he always found ways to isolate me. I felt dirty and powerless at 16. I couldn't take it anymore and finally told my mom. I remember sitting on the edge of her bed sobbing as I explained everything. I thought she'd protect me, but instead she said, "You must have misunderstood him. He never did something like that. He's family." When my dad found out, he told me I was being dramatic and warned me not to spread lies that could draw in their lives. Reaction crushed me. Desperate, I confided in my aunt's mom, hoping someone would believe me. Instead, she screamed at me, accused me of trying to destroy her son's reputation, and told the rest of the family that I was lying. After that, everything changed. My siblings avoided me and other relatives stopped inviting me to things. I became the black sheep, the troublemaker. Meanwhile, my cousin acted like nothing happened, smirking at me during family events or brushing past me just to make me uncomfortable. I started skipping gatherings altogether, but that only made me look difficult in everyone else's eyes. When I turned 18, I packed my things and left. I went no contact with everyone, determined to start over. Therapy helped me process the trauma and a betrayal, and over time I built a new life for myself. I went to college, started a career, and met my fiancée, who knows everything and has been my biggest support system for years. I didn't hear from my family. I assumed they didn't care, but a few months ago, after I announced my engagement to my parents, reached out. My mom left a long voicemail saying she missed me and wanted to heal the family. My dad sent an email saying they regretted how things turned out and wanted to be part of my wedding. At first I ignored them, but they kept reaching out, so I finally responded. I told them I'd only consider reconciling if they acknowledged what happened and apologized for not protecting me. My mom started crying, saying she was sorry for how things went but refused to outright admit she'd failed me. My dad said we did the best we could at a time that felt more like an excuse than an apology. Then other relatives started reaching out saying I needed to let it go for the sake of the family. One even said has changed. Why hold on to the past? But to me it's not just the past. It's years of betrayal, silence, and being dismissed that still haunt me. Am I being too harsh for refusing to reconcile unless they take full accountability, or am I justified in keeping my distance from a family that chose their comfort over my safety? Am I not an block them all? They are not your family. True. What op experience of making love assault, and the impact of that trauma is huge. Your parents and aunts had a responsibility to protect you, and they failed. Not AOL. If I'm being honest, it sounds like you have let it go and are not holding on to the past. You're moving on it up. They made a choice to not believe and protect you. This is a very reasonable direct consequence of the choice. You even offer them a very fair boundary to be able to reconnect, acknowledging the past so they can move on, and you can heal. If they can't even meet that one requirement, then they aren't ready to treat you with the respect you deserve. They want to go back to the dynamic that fits for them. I hope you're able to continue healing. You're doing great, and in my opinion, there's an audacity flare somewhere that would fit this perfectly, similar to "Sorry I messed you up running you over with my car, but I did the best I could." Consider myself not AOL. Opt out the abuser enablers, then block them all. Have a wonderful life. You deserve every minute of it, not all. These people are still blaming you. Fine, and been fine all these years. Changed. Why would he have changed? How can they tell BS? They can all go f themselves.